Hey there, Sagittarius fam. How you be? Let's check in on what kind of vibes you may still have to look forward to in the month of May 2025. I can already give you a heads up that the Judge card came hopping on out of the archetype deck while I was pre-shuffling that. So, what's up? It feels like whatever's going on, there may be concern of the way it was handled in the past and not wanting to make those same mistakes, right? Like you just need that reminder of you learn from them. So why would you make the same mistakes, right? You know what you're doing. Don't worry about it, right? And let's go ahead and cut this deck and see what else we can get to go with that Judge card. Okay, we have the Flame, and it's leaning to the right, very like poof, sideways, right? And this speaks of that inner flame, that passion that's lit within you, hopefully. And the fact that it's leaning to the future is a good thing. So yeah, there may be something, because the Judge card isn't fully to the side like that Flame card is. So it's just something from the past is on your mind, and it's weighing in on what's going on right now. It's something that you're trying to process and work through right now. And you want things like, do you want things to be fair? What kind of a ruler would you be? How would you handle the situation if you were a judge, right? Would you want to be fair and true and follow those laws, or would you be corrupt? Would you be mean and cruel? You know what I mean? And maybe those are the things that you're concerned about, being too harsh and making mistakes. But you're being reminded that, you know, you're heading in the right direction. Your goals, your trajectory, your passion, your drive is, you're always on the right path. As long as you're moving forward, as long as you're learning, you're always on the right path, right? And on the bottom, we have the Sword, which is direct, just perfectly upright. So to me, it's not just a yin or yang situation kind of going on there. I actually see like it could be like a personal pizza. And there's like 4 different sections, right? Really splitting up the different sides of yourself. Like think of swords and whoop. Hello, Sustainer. Think of the Shapeshifter and the Siren were underneath. So for me, the bottom of the deck is like the main gist, the main vibe, and then you get like the particulars, like the Judge and the Flame. But this kind of feels like when I'm doing readings, whatever's going on is either confirmation, it's ad-libbing, you know what I mean? It's the little extras, those extra moments that really like I enjoy, right? Because it's like, whoa, that's wild that happened in that moment. But with the Sword, I tend to think of things like precision and training, you know what I mean? And finality, like defense, protection, and honor, right? When it comes to the Sustainer, this is that caregiver archetype, you know what I mean? The one who's taking care of those mundane things that some people may not even think about, you know, the one paying the bills, the one doing the grocery shopping and things like that. So that's also something that's really on your mind right now too. Anyone that may, anyone will resonate? No? Okay, damn. Just kidding. So you have some stuff on your mind there, Sagittarius. What's going on? You just need that reminder that you've got this. You got this. It's all good. Let's continue on with the Believe in Your Own Magic Oracle deck. Something from the past is on your mind as you're trying to handle business and take care of things. Okay. First card from this deck is the Shark card. Swim away from the situation. First and foremost, in protest, I love sharks. They're just minding their own business, but you know, they're very curious. But this card is going on the whole idea of like chum, If there's going to be chum in the water, I mean, what do you expect? Who looks good when they're eating? Let's be real, right? They have no hands. They're like dogs and stuff, right? They have no hands. Come on. Listen, there's someone in your midst who's messing with you. This is the equivalent of the Lover's card in tarot reversed. This is a toxic, unsafe situation. And as soon as you can, you need to swim away. Get away from whatever the heck this is. Maybe this is that thing that's on your mind that you're concerned. Maybe there are bad habits you once had that you're like, oh no. There's someone around that has really been bothering you and bringing you down. You know what I mean? Their vibe is not matching yours, and you may not know how to enable a separation, how to enable that arm's length at the very least. But as soon as you can, please do. Disconnect. They do not, like, swim away. You know what? Like in Finding Nemo, swim away. There's a big old mouth coming to chomp on you. The next card is Clover. Release your guilt. There we go. We got to it. We found it. There's something in the past that you've been feeling bad about, and it's time to let it go. You know what I mean? Any kind of guilt or shame or whatever that was yours to feel for whatever part you played in it, done. Sufficed. You know what I mean? Move on. Did you hear that tap? Hey, clarification. I'm telling you, all those little extra things are really cool. So consider this spirit letting you know, like, it's time to move on. Don't worry about that. You're not your father. You're not this person, whoever it is that you're worried about and emulating or behaving like. You're not that person. You're learning from your mistakes, and something tells me they didn't. Okay? So if you're worried about mishandling a situation with that shark card and moving on, you're already a respectful person. So as long as you're handling things with respect and compassion, you can't dictate how they feel. You can't dictate how they react. You can't dictate what they're capable of at this point in their journey, right? And you may have noticed on the bottom is the wings card. You never needed those wings to fly. Oh, I love that card so much. You never needed wings to get out. Run, Forrest, run. Let's see if we can get any more clarification with the tarot. I like to think of this all as like a story. Like we're just telling a story, right? And it either resonates and vibes with you or it doesn't. And let's do 3 piles like I did with the archetypes because they both have over 70 cards in each deck. Middle to the top and chapter 1. That's how I like to do this tarot. We got the 1111 card, fam. This is a card of celebration. It speaks of marriage, actual weddings and stuff, graduations. Like, think of the things in life, those milestone kind of events in life that are worth celebrating, right? Ask yourself, you know, like, what is the perspective that you have from this card? Is it more of a close-up on is it pronounced huppah? I always think of Gilmore Girls and the one that Luke made for Lorelai when she was getting married, that ended up staying outside for the rest of the series. Like some of us do. Or, you know what I mean? Are the people far away? Like, what's the perspective for you? What is it that makes you happy when you see 11:11 on the clock, right? What are the vibes? What are the wishes that you're making? What are the things that you want to celebrate? Because it looks pretty good for the month of May. You know what I'm saying? Maybe there's a birthday. I'm pretty sure I know someone who's a Sagittarius whose son just had their 2nd birthday. And we have the 8 of Wands in chapter 2. This speaks of spontaneous adventures, right? Either traveling, maybe a message, an email or a phone call or something that's coming in that maybe you're going to get invited out on a spontaneous trip or something, or like this card speaks of movement. I mentioned this actually in the Leo reading. This is one of those rare cards in the tarot where we don't see people. It's just those wands flying to really put emphasis on that movement and that swiftness, right? So coming up after the Four of Wands, hey-oh, that passion, that courage, that drive, especially when we have so much flame action going on already in this reading. My goodness. Chapter 3, there's more fire with the Emperor. Now, the Emperor and the Empress, they're able to just vibe in their thrones. You know what I mean? So cozy. They don't have to do anything. They can just magnetize their manifestations and the things that they want. They just snap a finger. They don't even have to snap fingers. That's how badass they are. But this Emperor is wearing armor underneath that robe. If he needs to step in and handle things, he can. He's really good at delegating and making sure things get done. And maybe that's a vibe that you need for the month of May. Maybe there's so much stuff going on. Maybe you finally have time to do the things you're passionate about. You know what I mean? Work is kind of settling down enough that you have personal time, that you're able to do things that you've been wanting to get around to, right? Maybe you finally get to go on a vacation. I wish that for you. And chapter 4 is the Six of Pentacles. This is one of those cards that speaks of things like balance. There's even scales. This person's even holding scales. But the visualization, a lot of this, that Rider-Waite-Smith deck tends to have a lot of religious Christian iconography and visualization going on. And this is kind of tapping into that idea of the servant and the master and how they're both actually equal, right? Because it isn't give or take. It's give and receive. You know what I mean? So when we talk about things like paying it forward, it's not so literal. Like if you're in line at a place and you want to cover the person behind you, you know what I mean? Like sometimes when it can be really difficult to receive, especially if you feel like you have nothing to give back to them. And you need to remember that just these acts of playing your part in giving and receiving is the gift. It feels good to help others, to give to others. And it also feels good to receive, yes. But it's more so when you have that chance in your life to do your part, you're the type of person who does. You like helping people. And maybe as an emperor, you've struggled at times to delegate and to let others help you. So I feel like that's why that's coming up, like being drawn right after the Emperor, is recognizing that balance in things, right? Maybe you're someone who has difficulty saying no and recognizing that whether you can do it all or not, you don't need to be the one doing it all. That you can delegate. You can let others be a part of that process and the giving and receiving and handling things, right? And underneath that Four of Wands, we have the Moon card, which not only speaks of things being illuminated in the darkness, it also asks you a question. If we take this moment to look back over our path all the way down to that primordial ooze, you know what I mean? Like birth, right? And our journey from the more animalistic nature of not knowing any better, you know what I mean? And learning and growing. We're not that crawdad anymore. We're not a lobster or whatever the heck that is. Alien? Get out of my belly. Oh goodness. But like, when you see these towers, think of like Solomon, right? And the thingies outside of that temple or whatever it was, right? Do you want to continue on the same path, doing the same things that you've been doing? Whether you like it or not, it's comfortable because it's what you know, which for too many of us, in my opinion, is survival mode and not really taking it down a notch and really having that chance to relax, having that vacation, whatever the heck. Or being able to switch gears and head into the unknown and all of those possibilities. There can be a bit of fear in that because that can be scary. Who knows what the heck is going to happen? But remembering that you're resilient, you've been through so much and you are so capable, right? And you have so much in your life to celebrate and be happy. So many unions and things to celebrate, that you got this. Come what may, you've got this, right? So that's the kind of vibe that the moon card is sharing. And underneath that 8 of Wands card is the Ace of Wands. And this imagery is speaking of like a gift from the divine. A gift of, it could be new love with a phallic symbol to boot. With that wand. Dang, Pamela, you drew a penis. Anyway, moving on. But there's also like this castle in the distance and stuff, right? It's such a blank canvas of a card. So it's like handing you the gift of creation, new, fresh ideas and things that you can enjoy. This is a new chapter. And if it's coming up underneath 8 of Wands, this is a new chapter coming in hot. We're getting away from the toxicity of the past, right? People behaving badly, learning from that, being able to recognize where someone is on their path, including yourself, without judgment, without poor judgment, right? Yeah. Underneath the Emperor is another major arcana. And this time, it's the Star. The Star tends to appear after a dark night of the soul. After painful transformations and growth. But I also like to remember that the Hermit card in his lantern, helping him, guiding him, it's light, while in his soul-seeking adventure that he's on up in his mountain, in his cave, is the Star. It's that inner light that needs to shine like a beacon, right? You shouldn't be blending in. You're meant to shine. You are an exception. You are alchemy. You are alchemy. You know what I mean? This person is standing in the water and on earth. They're tapped into the rivers and the ocean. You know what I mean? This can speak of literally like, I don't know if you're a YouTuber or doing social media and stuff, or an actor, a performer, a creative, you know what I mean? But this month, the month of May in 2025, you are meant to shine. That's coming up underneath the Emperor. You are being reminded of what you're capable of. And how those were a lot of freaking taps. Holy crap. How about some confirmation for that? That was a lot. You're meant to shine. You are fully capable and an incredible human being. You can lead, you can delegate, whatever the heck it is, just shine away, my friend. This is a month where things are working out and there's so much to celebrate. There's so much illumination where you need it most. Don't worry about like answers to certain questions that you've yet to receive. Something tells me you just may be getting them. You know what I mean? This month. But it's tapping into that passion, that fiery passion that has you moving forward, right? Without any confusion. This is all about passion. And like the one thing about this pentacle, the single pentacle card showing up, otherwise it's a lot of fire with a little bit of water going, a little bit of water, you know, just keep it contained to some of the, like, my goodness gracious, not fully, we're taking off the training wheels, but you know what I mean? Don't need to take down the whole forest. more of a controlled burn, if you will, for regeneration, right? Wow, okay. Where'd that come from? Underneath the Six of Pentacles, moving out, that's what I was trying to say. The Pentacles and being the earth energy can be very slow, but daily, steady progress, right? And underneath that Six of Pentacles is the Knight of Cups. That fluid ease to life, that reminder to enjoy yourself, enjoy your life. I forgot I had crystals in my lap and ow, ankle, please. The Page and the Knight of Cups tend to show up when it's like, hey, lighten up. You need to lighten up a little bit. You know what I mean? I always think of this horsey, this white horse with the knight, as like a bit of a prancer. You know, they're like prancing around. They've been waiting for you. Knights in the tarot, like, and just think of like fairy tales. They've been sent out for a particular message, for a particular mission, right? And I feel like this one kind of goes out to this river out here, and they're just waiting. Like, you have a few steps that you need to handle on your own, and meet me halfway, buddy. You know what I mean? And then, have I got a cup for you? And this horse is just like, yeah! So excited and ready for these celebrations, right? This can speak of love, and maybe it's not so much about the length of time, and like, be careful to not just jump in is what I'm meaning to say. Don't just skip certain stages and certain steps in this relationship, right? Savor it. Take your time with it. If this is representing love for you, take your time with it and savor it, right? Because that's coming up underneath the card, forgiving and receiving. There may have been things that have been coming up that may have even been triggering you a bit with that fiery passion and such. And this kind of nudged to the past, Judge and the Sword card and the Release Your Guilt and that Shark card. Like, there may be things that are happening that are triggering you a little bit. And like, I don't like to believe in tests when it comes to life and stuff. I feel like if you're learning your lessons, you're living like it. You're growing, you're evolving, right? And that's the only way this message can even come through in the first place. That's the only way that we can reach this point. That's the only way that we can come out of that dark night of the soul and shine like a beacon, rather than grabbing a shovel when we've hit our rock bottom, right? Grab a ladder, shine wherever you are, shine. The epilogue to this epic tale is the Nine of Swords. This card speaks of anxiety, literally being so stressed out that you're struggling to sleep at night. You're looping, right? And the thing about this is you need to remember that, you know, this person's wearing white. That speaks of innocence and purity, but also the rainbow, you know? So whatever this person's stressing about, it's like a form of self-torture. You know what I mean? They're struggling with their faith. They're struggling to believe that it's all going to work out and that they are enough. They are doing enough, and it's all in their minds. People may not even realize that you have all of this on your mind, that you are struggling to sleep. Maybe someone's been having nightmares and they haven't really opened up to people. People have no idea what's going on, and you don't deserve that. You don't deserve that. So whatever it is that's being represented with the Shark card and the Sword and the Clover, Release Your Guilt, like whatever the dark nights of the soul that have been represented in this reading are, it doesn't belong on your shoulders. Okay? It's okay. Right? Take all of that energy and alchemize it. Flip it, whatever that looks like for you. What is the positive vibes version? And just hold that. That becomes your carrot, that dangling carrot. You know what I mean? Believe in yourself because you're so capable. This emperor does not mess around. It's not that they, in comparison to the empress, who's all about love and Venus and nature and compassion and nurturing, the emperor is able to have emotions as well, right? You got the star card underneath there. There's emotions, that fluidity of life and emotions. They're just not getting lost in the sauce of it, but you still have things on your mind. And maybe you've been trying to deny that. Maybe you've been trying to just sweep it under the rug, but you got to handle it because it's almost like a form of torture in your mind. And it's just not necessary. You don't deserve that, okay? On the bottom of the deck, we have the 7 of Pentacles. So that's what I was talking about with that Pentacles, and the 6 is Pentacles with that earth energy. It can be very slow moving, that daily progress. And you may have reached a point where you would expect it to have come maybe further along than it actually is. I mean, that bush looks pretty dang good to me, my friend. And there's all those pentacles everywhere. Look at that. Don't. It's nice. You know what I mean? So what are you judging? Why do you not think it's enough? What are you talking about? You need to look back on your life. That's 2 cards because the 7 of Pentacles is kind of doing the same thing as this Moon card. So there's some emphasis on that going on. Honor how far you've come. Honor how much you've evolved and grown. Honor it. Don't insult yourself. Honor yourself. Don't worry about how long it's taken. It's taken as long as it needs to. And you know that. This is just your friendly reminder. That's all. It's just friendly reminders that you've got this and you're doing an excellent job. You just keep going. I feel like that's been so much of just keep going. This is your reminder to just keep going because you know exactly what you're doing. And for the extra notes, we have Scorpio. What's going on with the Scorpio? Ooh, is that the shark? I'm thinking of that friend and the Scorpio that person knows. The one with the baby who just had their birthday. Interesting. Speaking of emphasis, whatever you're worried about that we've been talking about ever since that first card, the Judge, that was then, and this is now. Thank goodness, right? And then Aries, which is this. Now we got emphasis on that card. That fire. Aries is the very first sign in the zodiac. They are the doers. They're usually pretty upbeat and easygoing, but they're human too, so they can get angry, they can get pissed off, and it's like it can be very sudden and this eruption, but then it also tends to just, okay, now that that's done, you know what I mean? Let's get back to life as we know it. But I feel like it's really emphasizing that Emperor phase. Let this be your Emperor era. That's what I've been telling myself. One of my birth cards is the Empress. And I've been telling me, like, this is my Empress era. Let's go. Right? Thank you so much for joining me, Sagittarius. Oh, look at you. So much growth, right? Like, I really feel like this has been such a time for so many of us, that aftermath of a lot of really big changes in our lives. And we're just getting our footing and figuring out what gets to continue on with us in this new chapter. And that's definitely the case for you. You've got some real worries and fears and anxieties going on. And I don't want to discredit your thoughts and the way you feel about things and how difficult things may be. But that card showing up is a signal of it being unnecessary. That whatever you think is, whatever's fueling that anxiety, maybe it's a misunderstanding and it's not actually as bad as you think it is, or it's just not worth losing sleep over. You know what I mean? And trust that. Trust yourself, because you yourself are worthy of your own trust, okay? Yeah, you are. Thank you so much for keeping me company. I really appreciate it. And always remember that I believe in you.